In the endless sea of stars, a silent ship drifted. It was not a small ship, nor an ordinary one, but a vessel built by hands long gone. For hundreds of years, maybe thousands, it had floated in deep space, without sound, without life. Its lights were dark, its engines dead, its halls empty. No crew walked its metal floors. No voice echoed in its corridors. Only silence lived there. This ship was a relic, a ghost from a forgotten war. Its creators, a powerful alien race, had vanished from the galaxy. Some said they were destroyed by an enemy greater than themselves. Others believed they abandoned the galaxy, leaving only broken ships and lost technology behind. Whatever the truth, the vessel remained, waiting, as if for something or someone. Many explorers over the centuries had found it. Alien scavengers, pirates, even scientists came close. They tried to scan it, they tried to open it, they tried to talk to it. But the ship never answered. Its doors stayed locked. Its systems stayed asleep. And so, travelers left, thinking it was nothing more than dead metal. The ship became legend, a cursed object drifting forever. But legends are never just stories. One day, in the quiet darkness of space, a small human salvage craft approached. Inside was a single pilot, a man named Daniel Cross. He was not a soldier, not a famous explorer, only a lonely man searching for old wrecks to sell. His ship was small and weak, its engines tired, its supplies low. He was desperate for a find, something big, something valuable. And when his radar caught the shadow of the alien vessel, his heart began to race. Daniel flew closer, and for the first time in ages, the alien ship felt the touch of human technology. Sensors scanned its surface, recording the strange patterns carved into its hull. The human pilot whispered to himself, "If I can get inside, I'll be rich forever." He did not know that the ship was listening. For centuries it had been silent. But now, with his voice, something stirred. Deep inside, old systems flickered. A spark of energy moved through wires and circuits, like a sleeper opening its eyes after a long dream. Daniel docked his craft with the strange ship. He floated toward its sealed door, his heart beating loud in the silence of space. "Open," he muttered, almost joking, and the door hissed open with a sound like breath. Daniel froze, fear and wonder mixing inside him. No other explorer had ever opened this door. But the ship had heard him, and it had answered. Inside, the corridors lit up, one by one, as if greeting him. Cold light spilled over walls covered in alien markings. The air was thin but breathable, almost as if it had been waiting for a human. Daniel stepped inside, each footstep echoing in the vast emptiness. His voice shook as he whispered, "Hello." And then the impossible happened. A voice replied, soft and ancient, but clear in his language. "At last," it said, "the right one has come." Daniel's eyes widened. His breath caught in his chest. "Who said that?" he shouted into the empty corridor. "I am the ship," the voice answered, calm and patient. "I have waited so long, and now you are here." Daniel's mind raced, fear turning into excitement. The ship could speak, it could understand him, and it had never spoken to anyone before. But why to him, a simple human? "Why me?" Daniel asked, his voice trembling. The lights brightened, leading him deeper into the ship. "You are human," the ship said, "and only a human may awaken my purpose." Daniel followed the lights, unable to stop himself. Every corner of the ship seemed alive now, responding to his presence. Doors opened before him, control panels lit up, symbols shifted into English. The ship was adapting to him, welcoming him, almost like a home that knew its owner had finally returned. And with every step, Daniel felt the weight of something greater than treasure. It was mystery, it was destiny, it was fear. He stopped at a massive chamber, where a single control chair waited. The voice of the ship spoke again, closer now, as if inside his mind. "For ages I have searched the stars, but no voice answered me. No soul matched the key, until you. Daniel placed his hand on the console, hesitating. He wanted to pull back, but the light pulsed warmly under his skin. The ship whispered, "You are the one I was built for." Daniel's heart pounded. His thoughts filled with questions. What was this ship? Why had it chosen him? And most of all, what waited ahead if he accepted? In the cold of deep space, one man and one forgotten ship had finally met, and the galaxy would never be the same again. Daniel stood frozen inside the chamber, the glow of the alien console shining against his face. His hand hovered above the strange surface, trembling, uncertain if touching it again would be a mistake. The voice of the ship whispered, calm yet powerful, "Do not fear, you are safe here." Safe, Daniel thought, inside a ship that had slept for centuries, surrounded by mysteries he could not understand. Safe was the last word he trusted. Still, something inside him pulled him forward. He placed his hand on the console, and the surface shifted, glowing brighter, symbols moving and changing. In seconds, the alien language turned into English, words forming across the panels as if the ship had studied his mind. Daniel gasped, his fear mixing with wonder. You can understand me," he said. "I understand more than you imagine," the ship replied, its voice echoing in the chamber like a presence that was everywhere and nowhere. Daniel looked around, his eyes wide. "What are you? Why have you been waiting? And why me?" The ship hummed, a low vibration through the floor. "I am a guardian, built by the Erythians, a race that no longer lives." "The Erythians?" Daniel repeated, the word heavy and strange on his tongue. "Yes," the ship answered. "They created me to watch, to protect, to wait for the one who could awaken my true purpose." Daniel frowned, his voice unsteady. "And that is me? A human?" "Yes," the ship said without doubt. "Only a human carries what is required." Daniel shook his head, laughing nervously. "That's crazy. I'm not special. I'm just a scavenger. I was only looking for something to sell." The lights flickered, almost like the ship disapproved. "You may call yourself scavenger, but I see more. Your kind carries something no other race has, something my makers could never create, imagination." Daniel fell silent, the word hanging in the air like a secret key. Before he could answer, the ship spoke again. "You must come deeper, I will show you." The floor lit with a trail of blue light, guiding him forward. Daniel followed cautiously, his boots echoing in the silence, his breath heavy inside his helmet. The corridors were vast, filled with alien patterns carved into the walls, the designs glowing faintly like veins of light. Every step Daniel took, the ship seemed to breathe, alive again after centuries of sleep. He whispered, almost to himself, "This is impossible." But the ship answered anyway, "Impossible until you arrived." At the end of the glowing path, Daniel entered a massive hall. In the center stood a towering structure, like a crystal heart surrounded by coils of alien machinery. Energy pulsed within it, slow and steady, like the beating of a giant heart. "What is that?" Daniel asked, his voice small in the vast chamber. "My core," the ship replied. "My mind, my memory, and my power." Daniel stepped closer, staring in awe. He felt warmth from the core, not heat but something deeper, as if it reached inside his chest and touched his soul. The ship's voice grew softer, almost gentle. "You are the first to hear me, the first to touch me. Others tried, but I never answered." Daniel asked the question burning in his mind. Why not? Why them and not me? The ship was silent for a long moment, and when it finally spoke, its words chilled him. Because none of them were human. Daniel's pulse raced, his mouth dry. "You've been waiting? For my kind?" "Yes," the ship said. "My creators saw the fall of their people. They saw their doom, and they searched the stars for a successor. One with a spark they could not find in themselves. They chose humans." Daniel shook his head. "That makes no sense. We're not even from this part of the galaxy." We're still learning how to travel beyond our star systems. The ship replied. And yet, you are here, you reached me, you spoke, and I awakened. Daniel wanted to argue, to deny it, but the truth was before him. This ancient ship, silent for centuries, had answered his voice alone. Why me? Daniel whispered. What do you need me to do? The lights of the chamber dimmed, and the voice of the ship grew heavy, serious. To decide, to awaken what I guard, to choose if it should live again. Daniel stared at the glowing core. His heart heavy with the weight of words he could barely understand. What are you guarding? He asked, his voice trembling. The ship answered with words that made the air itself colder. A weapon or a hope? Silence filled the hall, broken only by the hum of the core. Daniel's thoughts swirled. Fear, disbelief, curiosity, and something else. Responsibility. This was no treasure to sell, no wreck to strip for parts. This was something far greater. He had found not just a ship, but a destiny. And deep in his heart, Daniel knew that the moment he stepped aboard, his life had changed forever. But outside, in the endless black, something else was moving. The ship's sensors flickered to life, detecting signals, faint but growing stronger. The enemy that had destroyed the Erythians had never vanished completely. And now, after centuries of silence, they had felt the pulse of the Guardian awakening. The ship whispered in Daniel's mind. A warning that froze his blood. They are coming. The warning echoed in Daniel's mind like a cold wind. They are coming, the ship had said, its voice calm but heavy with meaning. Daniel turned quickly, scanning the chamber as if enemies might already be inside. But there was only the pulsing core, glowing like a giant heartbeat in the center of the room. What do you mean? Who is coming? Daniel asked, his voice sharp. The ship answered slowly, each word like the strike of a bell. The ones who ended my makers, the ones who will end again if nothing stops them. Daniel swallowed hard, his palms sweating inside his gloves. You mean, the ones who destroyed the Erythians? Yes, the ship replied. They are not gone, they search still, and now they have sensed me awaken. Your presence has lit a fire they will see. Daniel cursed under his breath, his stomach tightening. He had come searching for wreckage to sell, but he had found danger older than his species. And worse, that danger was now heading his way. Then shut down again, Daniel said quickly. Turn off your lights, turn off your voice, go back to sleep. Maybe they won't notice. The ship was silent, then its voice filled with sadness. That choice is gone. Once you touched my core, I awoke fully. I cannot sleep again, and I cannot hide. Daniel shook his head, frustration building. Then why bring me here? Why me of all people? You said you've been waiting for a human. But for what? The ship's lights dimmed, then flared brighter as if drawing breath. I will show you, it said. The floor lit up again. A new path of blue light leading Daniel deeper into the ship. His legs felt heavy, but his curiosity pushed him forward. Every corridor seemed to whisper with history. Walls lined with alien markings that glowed faintly at his passing. It was as if the ship itself wanted him to see, to understand. Finally, he entered a vast chamber unlike the others. Here stood rows of strange pods, tall and sealed, like coffins made of crystal. Daniel stepped closer, staring at them with wide eyes. What are these? The ship spoke with reverence. Here lies what remains of my maker's last effort, their final attempt to preserve their strength. Each pod contains knowledge, weapons, designs, everything they hoped would save them. Daniel reached out, his fingers brushing the cold surface of a pod. Inside, faint shapes glimmered like frozen patterns of light. They tried to fight back. The ship continued. But it was not enough. The enemy consumed them. Their worlds burned. Their skies turned dark, and still, they lost. Daniel whispered. Then what good is any of this if it all failed? The ship answered, steady and sure. Because it failed for them, but it does not have to fail for you. Daniel froze, his heart pounding. For me? I'm no soldier. I don't command fleets. I can barely keep my salvage ship flying. The ship replied, "That is why you are the one. My makers were strong. But they lacked what humans carry, the ability to see beyond limits, to imagine paths no logic can build." Daniel's throat felt dry. He wanted to laugh at the absurdity, but he could not. The ship's words were too heavy with truth. "You said you guard something," he whispered. "Is this it? These pods?" "No," the ship replied, its voice dropping lower. "This is memory, but the thing I guard is far deeper and far more dangerous." The walls of the chamber shifted, revealing hidden panels. A massive door slowly unlocked, groaning as if it had not moved for centuries. Beyond it lay darkness, a silence so thick Daniel felt his skin crawl. "What's in there?" he asked cautiously. The ship hesitated, then spoke. "The last weapon of the Erythians, a creation of such power it could turn battles or end worlds. They built it when they saw defeat was certain, a blade meant to cut the enemy from existence itself." Daniel stared into the black opening, a shiver running down his spine. "A weapon?" he repeated, his voice thin. "You said it could be hope or destruction." "Yes," the ship said, its voice heavy. "My makers feared their own weapon, for it required a mind unlike theirs, a mind unbound by cold logic, a mind willing to risk, to dare, to imagine. So they locked it within me, and programmed me to wait for the one who could use it." Daniel shook his head. "And that's supposed to be me?" "Yes," the ship replied. "You touched my core, and I know, only you can awaken what sleeps within." Daniel stepped back, panic mixing with awe. "You're asking me to fight a war I don't even understand, with a weapon I've never seen." The ship's voice softened, almost kind. "I am not asking, Daniel. I am showing you what is already chosen." For a long moment, Daniel said nothing, his eyes fixed on the darkness behind the door. He thought of his life before this, the loneliness, the endless hunt for scraps and survival. Now he stood before something greater, something terrifying, something that could change everything. His chest rose and fell with heavy breaths, his voice finally breaking the silence. "What if I refuse? What if I walk away?" The ship answered simply, "Then they will come, and they will destroy not just me, but you, your people, your worlds, until nothing remains. The choice is not if you fight, the choice is how." Daniel closed his eyes. His hands clenched into fists. The weight of destiny pressed on him, crushing, yet undeniable. He opened his eyes again, staring into the dark chamber. "Show me," he whispered, his voice shaking but steady. "Show me the weapon." The ship's lights pulsed like a heartbeat, its voice echoing with finality. "So it begins." The great door rumbled shut behind Daniel, its echo rolling through the vast corridors of the ship. He stood in silence, his breath loud inside his helmet, the ship's voice still whispering in his mind. The weapon lay hidden deeper, waiting. But before Daniel could ask more, a sharp alarm echoed through the walls. The lights along the floor flashed red, pulsing fast like a racing heartbeat. "What's happening?" Daniel demanded, fear rising in his chest. The ship replied in a tone colder than before. "They are close now. The enemy has seen my light. They are coming." Daniel's heart pounded. "How many?" The ship answered with a long pause. "Too many for you to face alone. Their fleet hunts like wolves, and they have found our trail." Daniel shook his head, his voice trembling. "Then we have to run. You can fly, can't you? You're a ship, you can escape." A silence filled the chamber. Then the voice came again, slow and deliberate. "I cannot flee unless I have a pilot, and only you can be that pilot, Daniel." The words struck him like a weight. "I'm not a pilot for alien warships," he argued. "I can barely handle my salvage craft. You want me to fly you against an enemy that destroyed an entire race?" "You can," the ship replied firmly. "You must. Without you I cannot fight. Without you I cannot live." Daniel turned in circles, his chest tightening, his thoughts racing like fire. This was madness, impossible. Yet the alarm still rang. The danger was real. His voice cracked. "What if I fail? The ship's reply was soft, almost human. Then we both die, and so much more will follow. The floor lit up again, showing him a new path, brighter, urgent. Where does this go? Daniel asked, his voice shaking. To the bridge, the ship replied. To the place where we become one. Daniel hesitated, his legs heavy as lead, but he forced himself forward. Every corridor hummed with power, alive again after centuries of silence. He felt the ship's energy around him, pushing him forward, guiding him like a hand at his back. At last, he entered the bridge. It was vast, wider than any control room he had ever seen, filled with alien consoles that shifted and changed as he entered. At the center stood a single chair, dark and waiting. It pulsed with faint light, as if calling him. Daniel whispered, "That's it, isn't it? That's where you want me." "Yes," the ship answered. "Sit and we will fight together." Daniel walked toward the chair slowly, every step filled with doubt. He thought of turning back, of running to his own ship and escaping into the dark. But deep inside, he knew it was too late. The enemy was already here. He sat down, and the chair came alive, wrapping around him. Panels lit up around him. Symbols shifted into English, controls adjusting to his hands. A wave of energy moved through him, sharp and electric. His mind touched by the ship's mind. He gasped, gripping the arms of the chair. "What are you doing to me?" "Linking," the ship replied. "Together, you and I are one. Your thoughts guide my weapons. Your instincts guide my flight." Daniel felt a rush of images. Stars burning, worlds dying, fleets clashing, echoes of the Erythian War. He cried out, his vision blurred, his chest heaving. "Stop!" he shouted. "I can't. This is too much." The ship's voice softened. "Breathe, Daniel. I will not let you break. You are stronger than you know." Slowly, the visions faded, leaving him shaking but alive. Daniel whispered, "I'm not ready for this." "No one is ever ready," the ship said. "But the time chooses us, not the other way." Then the sensors lit up, showing faint signals moving through the black. Daniel stared at the display, dozens of red marks closing in fast. "They're here," he said, his voice heavy with dread. "Yes," the ship replied, calm but firm. "And they will not stop unless you make them." Daniel gripped the controls, his fingers trembling. "Tell me what to do." The ship answered, "Trust your instincts. I will guide you, but your choices will shape the fight." The first enemy ships appeared on the edge of space, dark shapes like blades cutting through the void. Daniel's blood ran cold. "There are too many. There are always too many," the ship replied. "But one spark can burn a forest. One hand can turn the tide." The enemy fleet spread wide, surrounding them. Alarms blared, energy readings spiked. The storm was about to begin. Daniel closed his eyes for a moment, breathing deep. He thought of the life he had lived until now, small, quiet, forgotten. Now he stood at the heart of something vast. He opened his eyes, fire in them now. "All right," he whispered, gripping the controls tight. "Let's see if a human can really make a difference." The ship's lights flared bright, its voice ringing with power. "This is why I waited, Daniel, now fight with me." And then, the void erupted with fire. The void shook with the first clash of light. Enemy ships fired beams that cut across the darkness, glowing red like scars in the night. Daniel flinched as the bridge filled with alarms, the panels flashing warnings in languages both alien and human. He gripped the controls, sweat dripping down his brow, his breath heavy inside the helmet. The ship's voice guided him, calm but firm. "Do not fear, feel. Let your mind move with mine." Daniel pulled the controls, and the ancient vessel answered. Engines that had been dead for centuries roared to life, their sound deep like thunder rolling across space. The ship surged forward, dodging the first wave of enemy fire with a grace Daniel never imagined. He gasped, "You can really move." "I can move because you are here," the ship replied. Your instincts awaken me. The enemy ships swarmed, sharp and fast, their weapons flashing. Daniel twisted the controls, the alien vessel spinning, weaving through blasts of deadly light. Panels lit up before him, glowing with strange weapon systems. What do I do? Daniel shouted. Reach out, the ship answered. Not with your hands, with your will. Think it and I will obey. Daniel hesitated, then focused, imagining the enemy ships exploding. The vessel answered, energy coursing through its weapons. Blazing beams of white light erupted from its cannons, cutting 2 enemy ships in half. Daniel gasped, his eyes wide. I did that. Yes, the ship whispered. Together, we are more than either alone. The enemy regrouped, circling like predators. Daniel's fear returned, but so did a strange fire, something rising deep inside him. All his life he had been a scavenger, a survivor, a man who looked for scraps. Now he was something else, something he never imagined. The ship's voice filled him with strength. You are my pilot, Daniel. You are the spark. Enemy fire struck the hull, shaking the bridge. Daniel's teeth clenched. We can't take many more hits. The ship replied, we can endure, but we must fight with more than fear. Release yourself. Trust me fully. Daniel closed his eyes for a moment. His heart pounding, his breath sharp. He thought of survival, of the worlds that would fall if he failed, of the weight the ship had placed on him. He opened his eyes, his hands steady now. All right, let's do this. He pushed the controls forward, and the ship roared like a beast awakened. Its weapons blazed, its engines thundered, every system alive. Daniel felt the energy through his veins, as if the ship's power flowed into him. He shouted as beams tore through enemy ships, as missiles exploded into fire. The bridge shook with every victory, the ship's voice rising like a song. Yes, Daniel, this is what I waited for. But the enemy was not finished. A larger vessel emerged from the darkness, towering over the others, its weapons glowing like suns. Daniel's breath caught. That one's huge. The ship replied, its tone grim. The flagship, they send it to end us quickly. The enemy vessel charged its main cannon, light gathering into a deadly sphere. Daniel's heart raced. We can't take that. The ship whispered, we can, if you trust me completely. The console before him shifted, opening a new panel. Inside, a crystal core pulsed, glowing bright and alive. Daniel stared at it. What is this? My true heart, the ship replied. Touch it, and I will awaken fully. But once awakened, there is no going back. You and I will be bound. Daniel's chest tightened, the weight of choice heavy in his hands. He hesitated, staring at the deadly light building in the enemy's cannon. Then he whispered, no choice at all, and pressed his hand to the core. The world exploded in light. Energy rushed through Daniel's body, fire and lightning and power beyond thought. He cried out, his mind merging deeper with the ship. He saw stars being born, galaxies turning, the memories of the Erythians flooding through him. He saw their rise, their fall, their battles, their final hope, and through it all, one truth burned. He was their chosen spark. The ship roared awake, its hull glowing with lines of fire, weapons blazing with new strength. Daniel gripped the controls, his voice fierce. Let's finish this. Together, they unleashed a storm, beams of energy carving through the enemy fleet. The flagship fired its cannon, but the awakened vessel bent around it, dodging with impossible speed. Daniel's instincts guided the weapons, striking the flagship's weak points, tearing its shields apart. The enemy ship exploded in a storm of fire, the shockwave lighting the void. Silence followed, broken only by Daniel's ragged breathing. Around him, the remaining enemy ships scattered, fleeing into the dark. Daniel slumped in the chair, his body trembling, his mind buzzing with energy. We did it, he whispered, his voice weak but filled with awe. Yes, the ship replied, calm but proud. You awaken me, Daniel, and together, we will face what comes next. Daniel closed his eyes, exhaustion pressing down. But deep inside, a fire now burned, stronger than fear. For the first time in his life, he was not running, not scavenging, not hiding. He was a pilot of destiny, bound to a ship older than his species. And in the silence of deep space, he knew this was only the beginning. The wreck of the enemy flagship drifted into the void, broken in fire and silence. Daniel sat in the command chair, chest heaving, sweat running down his brow, his body trembling from the link with the ship. But the battle was not over, not even close. Around them, the darkness rippled with movement, dozens of new signals appearing on the sensors. The ship spoke, calm but sharp. The fleet has arrived. This was only their hunter. Now the pack is here. Daniel's stomach tightened, his heart beating hard against his ribs. The display lit with red marks, spreading across space like a storm of fireflies. He whispered, "There's too many." "There are always too many," the ship answered. "But together we can stand. Remember what you are. Remember what I am." The enemy ships closed in fast, hundreds of them, sleek and sharp, moving in deadly formation. The silence of space broke with flashes of light, beams and missiles raining down like a storm. Daniel gritted his teeth, pulling the controls, the ship darting between blasts with speed beyond reason. The link between them pulsed stronger, the ship flowing with his thoughts, his instincts guiding its movement. He imagined escape, and the vessel twisted away. He imagined attack, and the weapons lit with fury. It was not man and machine now. It was one being, one will. Enemy ships swarmed from every side, their fire shaking the hull. Daniel shouted, "They're everywhere." The ship replied, "Then strike everywhere." He focused, and cannons flared, beams slicing through 2, then 3, then 5 enemy vessels. Explosions lit the void, but for every one that fell, more pressed forward. "They'll overwhelm us," Daniel gasped, his chest burning. The ship's voice steadied him. "Not if you trust. Not if you release your fear." Daniel closed his eyes, letting the link deepen. Suddenly, the battle expanded in his mind. He no longer saw it through screens but through the ship's eyes. Every enemy ship was a spark in the dark, every weapon a flicker of heat, every path of light clear before it even happened. He gasped at the vision, the vastness, the clarity. The ship whispered, "Now you see as I see. Now fight as we fight." His hands moved with instinct, his mind guiding the storm. Missiles launched, beams tore across the void. Enemy ships burst into fire one after another. The swarm pressed in, but Daniel wove through them, striking with speed they could not match. For the first time, the hunters were hunted. The enemy broke formation, scattering in chaos. "Yes," the ship cried, its voice alive with energy. "This is the power they feared. This is why I waited." But victory was not easy. The hull shook with another blast, sparks flying across the bridge, Daniel jolting in the chair. Shields failing, the ship warned. "My body is old. Every strike breaks me further." Daniel clenched his jaw. "Then we finish this before they finish us." The ship agreed. "Yes, but to finish, you must dare what no Erythian ever dared." "What's that?" Daniel asked, his voice tight. "To push beyond limits, to imagine the impossible, and then do it." The largest of the enemy ships emerged from the swarm, a dreadnought black as night, its surface bristling with weapons, its core pulsed with red light, a superweapon forming, power gathering like a sun ready to burst. Daniel's blood ran cold. That thing could tear us apart in one shot. "Yes," the ship said. "It is their heart, their master. Destroy it and the swarm will fall, fail, and we are ash." The dreadnought loomed ahead, the swarm circling around it, protecting it like a hive guards its queen. Daniel's chest heaved. "We'll never get close." "You will," the ship whispered. "Because you are not bound by their rules, you are human." The words struck him with strange strength. He tightened his grip, eyes burning with fire. "Then let's show them what human means." He dove into the swarm, weaving through blasts, every second a heartbeat from death. Enemy ships fell in his path, beams slicing, missiles bursting, the void alive with fire. But still the dreadnought loomed larger, its weapon glowing brighter. Daniel felt the ship shudder, systems breaking, panels sparking, pain surging through the link. He groaned, "We can't take much more." The ship whispered fiercely, "Hold, Daniel, just a little longer." The dreadnought fired, a massive beam tearing across the void. Daniel jerked the controls, the ship rolling, the beam grazing past, ripping chunks from the hull, alarms screaming. Pain ripped through his body as if the wound was his own. But his eyes stayed locked on the target, his voice a growl. "Not yet, come on, not yet." Closer and closer. The dreadnought filled the view, its weapon recharged, glowing brighter, seconds from release. The ship whispered, "Now, Daniel, now." He roared, pulling the controls, pouring everything into the thought of victory. Weapons lit like suns, beams converging on the dreadnought's core. For a heartbeat, the void froze, light against light, fire against fire. Then the enemy ship erupted, a storm of fire swallowing the swarm, the shockwave rolling across space like thunder. Daniel sagged in the chair, his chest heaving, his body weak. He whispered, "We did it." "Yes," the ship replied, its voice soft now, weary but proud. "But the war is not done. This was only the first wave." Daniel closed his eyes, exhaustion washing over him. But in the darkness behind his eyes, a fire burned stronger. For he knew now what he was, what the ship was, and what they were together. Not a scavenger and a relic, but a spark and a storm, a bond that could change the galaxy. The fire of the dreadnought's explosion faded into the black, leaving only drifting wreckage and silence. Daniel slumped in the command chair, his body trembling, his chest rising and falling in heavy gasps. The ship's systems hummed weakly, its voice quieter now. "We have survived." But Daniel knew it was not over. The silence was only the pause before something greater. On the display, new signals appeared, faint at first, then growing stronger. A second wave of enemy ships, larger and deadlier, closing in like a storm across the stars. Daniel groaned, his hands gripping the chair. "We can't fight them all, we're already broken." The ship replied, its tone heavy. "You are right, Daniel. This battle cannot be won with weapons alone." The bridge grew darker as systems flickered, sparks dripping from cracked panels. The ship's voice trembled, not with fear, but with the weight of decision. "It is time to reveal what I truly guard." Daniel lifted his head, exhaustion in his eyes. "The weapon," he whispered. "Yes," the ship answered. "The last creation of my makers, locked away for this moment, a blade of hope and destruction." The floor shifted, panels sliding open, revealing a deep chamber below. Inside it pulsed a sphere of light, brighter than any star, contained within coils of alien metal. Its energy throbbed like a living thing, shaking the air with its power. Daniel stared at it, his throat dry. "That's it? That's what you've been guarding all this time?" "Yes," the ship whispered. "The heart of Erythia, born from all their science, all their desperation, a force to save or to end." Daniel's stomach tightened, the weight of the choice pressing down on him. "What happens if we use it?" he asked, his voice low. The ship answered, "If unleashed, it will destroy the enemy fleet in a single strike. Nothing will survive in its path." Daniel's eyes narrowed. "And us?" The ship paused, then said, "Perhaps we survive, perhaps we do not. Even I do not know. My makers feared it too much to test it fully." The alarms grew louder as the enemy fleet drew closer, their weapons arming, their numbers overwhelming. Daniel pressed his hands to his face, whispering to himself, "There has to be another way." The ship spoke softly, almost kindly. "Sometimes there is no safe way. Sometimes there is only the choice to fight or to fall." Daniel lowered his hands, his jaw tightening. "So you're saying it's me? I decide whether to use this thing?" "Yes," the ship answered. "I am bound to you now. Only you can awaken the heart. Only you can choose." Daniel's thoughts raced. He saw his old life, the lonely scavenger drifting through the void, searching for scraps, surviving on chance. He saw the lives of billions who would never know this battle, never see the threat coming. And he saw himself here, a man no one believed mattered, sitting in the chair of destiny. His hands trembled, but his voice was steady. If I don't use it, they win, and the galaxy burns. The ship replied, yes. And if I do, Daniel continued, I might die, and so might you. Yes, the ship whispered, but hope might live. The enemy fleet broke formation, their massive cannons charging, ready to end the fight. Daniel's chest heaved, his heart pounding louder than the alarms. He reached out, placing his hand on the pulsing sphere of light. It was warm, alive, like a heartbeat under his palm. The ship's voice entered his mind, deeper than ever. This is the final step, Daniel. If you call it, the heart will answer. Daniel closed his eyes, whispering, then let it answer. The chamber shook as the heart awakened, beams of light streaming through the walls. Energy surged into the ship, flooding every system, every weapon, every broken part alive again. Daniel screamed as the power coursed through him, fire and lightning running in his veins. The ship cried out too, its voice not of pain but of release. We are one, Daniel. We are more than they ever dreamed. The enemy fleet fired, 1,000 beams cutting through the void. But before they struck, the heart released. A wave of light burst outward, pure and unstoppable. Enemy ships shattered into dust, their weapons torn apart, their hulls ripped like paper. The fleet burned in silence, consumed in the storm. The light spread across the stars, then faded, leaving only wreckage and quiet. Daniel gasped, collapsing back into the chair, his vision dim, his body weak. The ship's systems flickered, the bridge filled with smoke and sparks. We did it, he whispered, his voice almost gone. Yes, the ship replied, faint but proud. The galaxy is safe, for now. Daniel smiled weakly, closing his eyes. I thought I was nothing, just a scavenger. But I guess I was meant for this. The ship's voice softened, almost human. You were never nothing, Daniel. You were the spark I waited for. The one they could not imagine. The one who could turn despair into hope. The chair dimmed, the ship's lights fading into silence. Daniel drifted in darkness, unsure if he was alive or gone. But one truth remained, etched into the stars. A human had answered, and the galaxy would never be the same again.